Before I start, that song just blew me away, I must just say. I think I've got a message for myself tonight. I think so often in life we fill our lives with clutter, with things. Uncle Colin asked me something so profoundly this evening. So often we ask people, how are you? He looked at me and he said, Dylan, how is your soul? And I went, ice cold. Because nobody ever asks me that. Who asks you that? Do you ever ask anyone else that? Have you ever asked anyone else that? And I think listening to that song and looking at where my soul is, they sort of like line up with one another. All I need is you, Lord. All I need is you. All I need is one glimpse of you. Just a touch of you. Just a smile on your face, just to hear your whisper to me. That's all I need is just you. Nothing else. Nothing else. One of the songs, sorry, I'll get back to my message. One of the psalmists writes, and I'm paraphrasing, I think it's in Psalm 84. It says, I'd rather spend a day in your courthouse, one day, than 1,000 days somewhere else. Being rich, being whatever it may be. I'd rather be a doorman at your courthouse, your church, than be anything else. All I need is you, Lord. Thank you, worship team. Thank you. And I really hope and pray that that song will really just touch you this evening as well. To the message. So this evening, I'm going to confuse you a little bit. I know we were busy with Elisha, but now we're with Elijah. Okay? So if I do say Elisha throughout my sermon, please correct me, because I might be thinking of Elisha, but not Elijah, so just please. So my first sermon that I ever preached was on Elijah, and so I want to continue from where I left. But before I continue, I just want to give you a little bit of a background into the story, because context is always important when you read the Bible. I think so often things are missed because we don't look deep into what the context is. Context is the things that happen prior to what you're going to read, things of the day, things of the people, what affected the people, so forth. Universities doing well, don't you think? So Elijah is sent by God. And he's a prophet, and so often God would send prophets to people to warn them and say, look, you guys need to turn back and you need to come back to me. And so Israel is in trouble once again in the Bible, and they've turned away from God. They have now been ruled by Ahab, King Ahab, and Jezebel. I don't know if you've ever heard of these two people. Jezebel introduced Baal worship into Israel. Do you know what Baal worship is? I'm grateful you don't, because it's not pretty. It would be sexual immorality to a degree that you can't even imagine. It would be child crucifixion. It would be this. It would be that. It would be worshipping idols. It would be worshipping yourselves. It would be cutting yourselves. It would be. It's just of worship. And so God then sends a prophet called Elijah. He says, well, you need to go and tell these people to turn, come back to me. And so Elijah goes to King Ahab, and he's a king, and he says to King Ahab, listen, you need to turn back to God, and if you don't, well, it's not going to rain. There won't be a drop of rain for Israel if you don't turn back to God. So it doesn't turn back to God, and it doesn't rain for 3.5 years. Can you imagine? 3.5 years of no rain, not a drop of rain. Call someone up in Cape Town and ask them how hectic it was, and I'm pleased. In my message then I also said it's got nothing to do with Cape Town not believing in God and doing Baal. It's got nothing to do with that. Just to clear the air. And so it doesn't rain for 3.5 years, and so King Ahab's there with Elijah the one day, and they had like this huge braai, this huge barbecue sort of thing. And so Elijah went up to these Baal worshippers and said, look, let's have a competition. You know, you set up your fire, and you pray to your God, and I'll set up my fire area, and I'll pray to my God, and whoever ignites the fire, whoever gets the fire into these fireplaces, not with matches and that, that's the real God. So what Elijah was saying is, if your God is so powerful, let him ignite this little area with fire. If my God is so powerful, he'll ignite this little area with fire. So Baal worshippers, pray day in, day out, worship, blah, blah, blah. Elijah makes fun of them and says, look, I don't think your God is with you. I think he's in the bathroom, he's on the toilet. If you don't believe me, you can go read it. I thought it was pretty funny. And so it's Elijah's turn. And he prays, and God sends down fire. And there's fire, and these people of Baal lie down and they start worshiping God, and they're saying, well, this is the true God. But Elijah then slaughters 450 Baal leaders. Quite a hectic guy, Elijah, don't you think? He's quite a, not the ordinary person we'd think of. And so this evening we now carry on from 1 Kings 18, verse 42 to 46. So Ahab went to eat and drink, but Elijah went up to the summit of Mount Carmel. He bent down on the ground, put his face between his knees, and he said to his servants, go up and look toward the sea. So he went up, looked, and said, there's nothing. 7 times Elijah said, go back. On the 7th time, he reported, there's a cloud as small as a man's hand coming from the sea. Then Elijah said, go and tell Ahab, get your chariot ready and go down so that the rain doesn't stop you. In a little while, the sky grew dark with the clouds and wind, and there was a downpour. So Ahab got into his chariot and went to Jezreel. The power of the Lord was on Elijah, and he tucked his mantle under his belt and ran ahead of Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. At first glance, this reading isn't, well, when I first read it, it wasn't, something that was wow to me. And I just prayed, Lord, can I have your eyes? And the story is so beautiful and so profound that we can use it in our lives today. I think so often I was one of those people who read an Old Testament reading and be like, what am I going to get from the Old Testament? There's nothing in there. And my mom was like, Dylan, all you're preaching from is the Old Testament. And yes, because there's so much in the Old Testament. So if you guys who don't want to read the Old Testament, read the Old Testament. It's quite cool. And so we start off, and so we see Elijah telling Ahab, a king, go and eat and drink, for there's a sound of the coming rain. And then you see Elijah going up to Mount Carmel and putting his head between his knees, sitting on the ground. And we learn something so important in just this first little paragraph. So Ahab knows that there's a problem. He knows that there's been no rain, there's been nothing. But Ahab goes and feeds his flesh. And I might step on a few toes this evening. Do you know of something that's happening in the world today? When last have you watched the news? Honestly, who watched the news yesterday? Why don't we watch the news? And the answer I always get is because it sucks too much. It's always bad news, or it's always, there's never anything good on the news. Am I going to deny that? No, I'm not going to deny that. But when we think of it, we're being Ahab. If you don't pray or do anything about what's happening on the news, no one is going to. And I didn't see Jesus knowing about bad news and hiding away and saying, well, I don't want to watch the news, or I don't even want to hear about your story. I'm comfortable with where I'm at. So the first thing that we learn about, or from Ahab, is complacency, being comfortable. That's the first thing that I really just want to, not stand on toes, but just challenge you with. When else have you got uncomfortable with what's going on around you? And it's a serious question. And I think it's something that we need to take seriously, is when else have you been uncomfortable with something that's going on around you? We all have nice warm beds, nice warm clothes, a nice car to get to. But we drive past everyone on the side of the street and we're not being Jesus to them. Jesus didn't have a car. He didn't have a house. He didn't have anything. He told his disciples, well, listen, if you're going to follow me, leave everything. And when you're going out into the world, take nothing with you. Just what you have. Get uncomfortable, church. Ahab was comfortable. Ahab fed his flesh. Get uncomfortable. Jesus calls us to be uncomfortable. I think that's my next sermon topic. Another verse that I'll use for that. And so Elijah goes and he climbs Mount Carmel. Now you can imagine poor Elijah. He's just defeated Baal. And when I say defeated Baal, he's killed 450 men. And he's had God put fire to wood. And now he doesn't go home and say, well, look, I'm tired. This is me. I've had enough for the day. This is it, done, whatever. Cool. I've done my duty for God. I'm now finished. Let's relax. What Elijah teaches us is that as a disciple, your work for the kingdom is never done. Never done. If you have life and breath within you, your work for Christ is never done. Never. And so Elijah goes up and he could have gone home and said, well, Ahab, you know what? We've been together. You've seen what's happened. I'll come and eat and drink with you. But no. What he does is he goes up and he climbs a mountain. And he gets to the top of the mountain and look, I am not flexible. But I can imagine his pose was, and he's not on the bathroom or anything, it was with him sitting with his head between his knees. And you know what he was doing? Does anybody know what he was doing? He was praying. You know what he was praying? Anyone know what he was praying? He was praying, Lord, please let it rain. Lord, please let it rain. Lord, please let it rain. And if you don't believe me, in James chapter 5, verse 17, it says, Elijah was a human being as we are, and he prayed earnestly that it would not rain. And for 3.5 years it did not rain. Then he prayed again, and the sky gave rain, and the land produced its fruit. Are you praying for rain this evening? How's your soul? Is it dry? Is life dry? Are you praying for rain this evening? Just like Elijah, I want to encourage you, keep on praying. Lord, send the rain. Lord, please send the rain. Lord, please send the rain. You didn't stop praying. And another thing, I just want to go back to Ahab quickly. Ahab was present when God brought fire to the wood. And yet Ahab did not bow down to God. Ahab's view of God did not change. Ahab did not change. And I think so often that's us. We expect God to do these incredible things, and He does it in front of us, for us. We're not looking there. And we miss it. And we're like, you know what, well, God doesn't care. I was praying for this speaker, but he gave me this podium. And you're so busy waiting for the speaker that you've missed something incredible that he's given you that you actually needed. I have friends, and my heart breaks because God has done so many great things for them. My one friend was in a very bad car accident, and literally it was his seat. That car was written off, but it was his seat that it was as if there were, I can't explain it to you. God did something that day to protect him, to save him for something, and yet, you know what, he still does not bow down to God. He still does not see Jesus as his Lord and Savior. And the fact that you're in church doesn't mean that you know, God does things, and so often we miss it, and we become like Ahab, and we don't bow down, and we don't say, well, you know what, Lord, I praise you for who you are, I praise you for what you've done. Thank you. We miss that. So going back to Elijah, so he's on Mount Carmel, and he's got his head between his knees, and he's praying, Lord, send the rain. Lord, send the rain. And so then he says to his servant, now we don't know much about his servant, but he says to his servant, go and look towards the sea, he told his servant. So yeah, his servant goes, and it's not a small hike, it's quite a big hike. So I'm the servant, by the way. Need to do more cardio. And the servant says to Elijah, there's nothing there. Now he's telling Elijah, someone who's just killed 450 people, dude, I ran down there and there's definitely nothing there. You know what Elijah says to him? Elijah could have packed it up and said, you know what, well, that's it, that's fine. Let's pack up. I'm tired of this. I've had a long day, you've had a long day. Let's go home and eat and drink. You know what Elijah says to him? You know what he says to him? Go again. There goes again. This guy's tired, okay? He's ran twice. No, don't go there. Elijah, nothing there. You know what Elijah says to him again? Go again, but I'm not going to go again. How often does it feel like when you're praying, there's nothing there? You're praying for something, and it feels like nothing's happening. You know, like Elijah sends his servant, he says, go look. There's going to be rain that side. Nothing there. How often do you pray and it feels like nothing's happening? How often do you pray, oh Lord, nothing's happening? Who's ever prayed like that? I have. But do you think something was happening there? Who can tell me about a rain cycle? Can you see the evaporation of water? and the sweating of the trees, transpiration of water, and the condensation, yes, that you can start seeing. But sometimes in life, you need to realize that when you're praying, God is doing something, although you can't see it. You are praying. Elijah was praying for rain. His servant couldn't see anything because there wasn't anything there with your eyes. But something was happening. Something was happening in the background. No one knew about it. No one could see it, but it was happening. Often you pray and you go once and you look and I'm done. God hasn't done anything for me. God, He's not going to listen to me. When God answers your prayers, He doesn't often answer it immediately. There's something happening in the background that you might not see now, but you will see later. Keep on praying. You know, sometimes people ask me, why does God want us to pray so much? And I refer back to the story and I'm like, you know what? I'd love to have known what was going on with Elijah. God was changing that man's life while he was waiting on the Lord. He was waiting for rain. He was waiting for God to answer his prayer. Lord, please can I have rain? I don't think Elijah said, Lord, please let there be rain. Okay, servant go, look, cool. I'll just sit here, wait for my servant to finish. When he gets back, we'll start praying again. Yes, this guy's taking long. And? No, nothing. Okay, cool, I'll pray again. Okay, I prayed, go back. Something was happening to Elijah. Just like when we pray, something happens to us. And so often we don't see it, we don't think of the fact that God wants to sort out our inside before He wants to sort out our outside. We're so consumed by the outside that we never pray for inside. God's working on your inside. Yes, He works on your outside. I'm not saying that He doesn't. He does. But so often His biggest concern is your inside. So when you're praying, I'm not saying pray for your inside, but I am saying pray for your inside. But don't miss what God's doing with the inside of you. Don't miss. This is a conversation between you and God. Not between you and your friend. Blows my mind away. Between you and the Creator of everything around you. You are speaking to the Creator of everything around you. Everything. Have you thought that you must breathe while you've been sitting here? Have you thought of that? Body breathe. No, you haven't. You were created so incredibly, and you get to speak to that God, that Creator who loves you so much. Amen. So much. God is busy with your inside and your outside. Don't miss that. His concern is your inside, not always your outside. Don't miss it. And so this poor guy goes and he runs and he comes and he runs back, and this guy's running and he's running and he's running and he's carrying on and he's carrying on. And you know, so often we like to run a marathon like I'm dressed. Have you ever ran a marathon? Look, I haven't. You can see I haven't. Thanks, T. Have you ever ran a marathon? Do you think I will do well in how I'm dressed? Is it there be no holes in my socks? My mom will kill me. No. I've got a reputation that I need to uphold. I can't say. Thank you. see how you leg day. You see, prayer is like running the Comrades. Have you ever ran the Comrades? Who watched the Comrades marathon the other day? Those guys are crazy, eh? Prayer is like running the Comrades. I feel so naked in front of you. It's not even a joke. But for 7 times, Elijah sent that guy up to the top of the hill. And 6 times he came back and he said, dude, there's nothing up there. Nothing at all. And he would send him again, and he would send him again. And he carried on, and carried on, and carried on, and carried on. But so often when we pray, it stops at number 1, at the first time. So what does Elijah teach us about prayer? Obedience. I think number 1 is preparation. Where's your heart when you pray? Where's your heart when you pray? I definitely couldn't run a marathon like that, but now I could run a marathon. Now my body would never be able to, but I've got the right clothes on. Where's your heart when you pray? And it goes to the question, where's your soul? I think so often we feel prayer is an obligation. You know, I'm driving to work, I have to pray. Or I have to pray because we're going to eat now, I have to pray. Where's your heart? Elijah's heart so set on there being rain that he humbled himself and he stayed there. And he prayed. And he prayed, Lord, please let there be, please, Lord. Then he's, please, Lord. His heart was set on God. There's a verse and it says, don't let your lips, it's not here, it's here. They worship me with their lips, but not their hearts. Prayer is the same thing. When you pray, where's your heart? Is it set on your own personal, Lord, this is for me, I want this, I want that, or is it, Lord, give me what it is you know that I need. You know what it is that I need. Where's your heart? The second thing that Elijah teaches us is never stop praying. Prayer is a marathon, not a sprint. And like a marathon, it's not easy. A sprint is quick, it's done. If you bolt, within 10 seconds you're finished. Even after, I don't know what you're running. A marathon is hours and hours of running. Hours of pain, hours of perseverance, hours and hours of running. Doesn't that feel like your prayer life sometimes? Hours of pain. Lord, please take this pain away. Lord, I can't anymore. Lord. Hours of just, Lord, please, Lord. Prayer is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't give up on God because you've sprinted your prayer. And within your marathon, God is preparing you for something. You know, when you're running your marathon in the beginning, it's difficult. In the beginning, you start off slow. In the middle, it gets a bit harder. Towards the end, when you get to the end, you're finished. But you get a medal at the end. Even if you came last, you get a medal. That's the same thing like prayer. Just has to start off slow. I'm not saying you must go home now and you need to have 3-hour-long prayers with God. And if you want to, that is awesome. But it starts off slow. It starts off, but carry on praying. For the thing that's happening in your life, carry on praying. For the thing that's taking so long, carry on praying. And when it gets hard towards the end, carry on praying. You don't know when it's going to end. Carry on praying. And at the end, I'm not saying you're going to get a medal from God, but the blessing that you're going to get from that prayer, whether it's a yes, whether it's a no, is a blessing. And I'm not saying that you must pray so that you can get the blessing. God is not there. Yes, He does bless you. But He's not, like I'm saying, where's your heart when you're praying? Prayer is a marathon. Just carry on praying. Something that I found very interesting within this verse is, in this passage, is that Elijah sent a runner. He didn't go himself. He sent somebody else. Why do you think he sent somebody else? It wasn't because he was lazy. That's all I'm going to tell you now. It was not because he was lazy. I think Elijah sent a runner because if he went there himself and used his eyes to look out and say, well, and see, there's nothing, he would have doubted. And I just want to draw you back to the beginning of the passage, and he said, go eat and drink, for there is a sound of a coming rain, of a heavy rainstorm, of a thunder shower. There's so many translations. Elijah didn't want to use his eyes to see, but he'd rather use his ears to hear. So often we use our eyes, don't we? But we never give the time to God to listen. We pray, Lord, I want this to happen, I want this to happen. And your eyes are so wide open and you're looking at nothing. When else have you listened? When else have you sat and said, well, Lord, I want to listen. Not, Lord, I want to see. Lord, I just want to listen. That song, I just want to whisper. Just one small whisper. That's what I want, is a whisper. That's all I want. Things and His love by the things that we see, not the things that we hear. If Elijah went there and looked himself, he would have looked and seen there's nothing. He probably would have doubted and said, well, there's nothing. I'm going to pack it up and I'm going to go home. This is not going to happen. But he sends a runner, and because he sends a runner, he doesn't see with his eyes, but he has faith because of what he's heard. Do you have faith because of what you've heard? You've heard God's promises. You've heard of His love. What's your faith based on? What you see or what you hear? Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Not seen. Stop using your eyes to gauge God answering your prayers. Start using your ears to listen. Listen for that rainstorm. It's coming. The rain's coming. Don't use your eyes. Use your ears. Because your rain is coming. Just carry on praying. Carry on praying and carry on praying. And so this poor guy comes running and he's running, and seventh time he comes running and he comes in. Yes, what's up? There's something there. There's something there? Yes, but it's little. It's small. It's small, you know. It's the size of like a human hand, you know, like the cloud is this small, It's definitely there though, but it's this small. What does Elijah do? Not, okay, well, let's go look and check quickly. Come, get your stuff ready. We are going. We're going to go and tell King Ahab to get his stuff ready because this is it. We are going. And there's something so profound that Elijah teaches us in this small little piece is we so often miss God answering the small. Small, because it all starts off with the small. Your faith starts off with a little. Faith as small as a mustard seed can move a mountain. And that mustard seed then grows and becomes a tree, and all the birds of the forest will eat and live in it. How small is your faith? Just as small as that's all Elijah needed, was as small as a man's hand. That's it. And he didn't question his servants. He didn't do anything. He just said, well, that's what we've been praying for. That little hand, that's as small as that's what we've been praying for. Yes, maybe I wanted something a lot bigger, like I wanted a massive rain cloud, but that's a start. That start is all we need. All you need is a start. That's all you need is a start. Small, little start. It doesn't have to be big, but it's a start. This guy could have chosen and said to Elijah, well, look, there's nothing there. There is actually something there, but you know what? It doesn't count. It's not so big. How often do we do that? God, we want this, but it doesn't count because it's not as big as what we wanted, or it doesn't count because it's too small. God is showing you Himself in the small. In the small things around you. In the little things around you. I remember going to India and God blew us away when we were in India. We went there to serve, but the poorest of the poor served us. And I remember being in a children's home, and one of our team members was so ill. We prayed and we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. Nothing happened. And we were missing 2 Indian girls. And we were, where are they? Where did they? Oh no, they're busy praying with the member of the team. Okay. Wasn't an hour later, the member of the team walked out there into the kitchen with these 2 little girls, and she said, well, I'm here to help. What can I do? We all sat there and were like, why aren't you in bed? She said, no, these girls prayed for me, and I really am. I feel healed. I feel better. I feel a little bit better. I don't feel 100%, but I'm a little bit better. And this blew me away because 2 little girls prayed for this girl, and we've been praying for days for her. 2 girls go there, and she has that little size of a man's hand. That's all she has, and she feels better. But she believes that God will then carry on from that, and we'll carry on building. I'll get more better. Yes, I'll get better. Yes, I'll get better. Yes, I'll get. But this is where I start. It's the little. And so Elijah says to his servant, go and tell King Ahab to get his stuff ready, to get his chariot ready, because the rain's gonna come. And have you ever seen like the movie Gladiator and those type of movies? They didn't have cars or BMs or whatever. They had horses and chariots. So when it rained, they had no diff lock. They had no 4x4. They had no such thing as that. If it rained, these things would sink, and they would be stuck, and they're not going anywhere because it would sink. And so he tells the servant, go and tell Ahab that he needs to get all of these things ready, and he needs to go to Jezreel because the rain's coming. And meanwhile, the sky grew black with clouds, the wind rose, a heavy rain started falling, and Ahab rode off to Jezreel. And then the power of the Lord was on Elijah. And he tucked his mantle under his belt and ran ahead to the entrance of Jezreel. What that says is Ahab outran the king's chariot to get to Jezreel. Have you ever outrun a car? Or it wasn't from here to the gate away. This was the distance away. And he outran the king's chariot to get to Jezreel before the king. And why? Because he had a touch. Lord, that's all he had, it was just a touch. And that song just speaks again. Just one touch from you. Maybe that's what we need this evening. Just one touch. That you may just get up and that you may run. That you may run towards the rain. The rain that's about to come. The rain that you're praying for. The rain that you've been waiting for. Just one touch. That you may just run towards the arms of the Father. Just one touch. So this evening I close off by just saying, pray like you're running the Comrades. Is it going to be easy? No, it's not always going to be easy. It's going to be long. Maybe long. Might be one prayer, but it's going to be long. Is it going to be worth it? I'm pretty sure it's going to be worth it. Like Elijah, keep on praying. Keep on praying. Don't stop praying. Don't stop praying. And know that when it looks like there's nothing going on, there's something going on in the background. Though it might be small, it's the start. And I just pray that you'll just use your ears and not your eyes. May you hear the sound of the coming rain. Not use your eyes in doubt. May you hear the sound of the Heavenly Father. May you hear His voice this evening. Can we pray? Lord, we come before you and we just still ourselves, Lord. May we all just close our eyes and just listen for the coming rain. May we hear your still voice speaking to us in our dry season. May your soft whisper, Lord, just speaking to our souls. Just like Elijah, I just pray that we'll just continue to just pray and pray, Lord. Just pray and pray and pray again and pray again and seek you again. Lord, while we're praying and waiting on you, may you just work on our inside. May you just work on our inside, Jesus. Just work on our inside, Lord. May we hear your voice. May we listen to your tender whisper, Lord. That small whisper of hope. That small tender whisper of love. May we use our ears, Lord. So Jesus, we just pray for of you and less of us. So all we need is you. All we need is you. All we need is you.